Today, we're going to pull back the curtain and go behind the scenes into a world of really high-stakes strategy, almost clandestine information gathering, and a battle for the future of medicine itself. But, this isn't your typical story about beakers and lab coats. Nope, this is a story about intelligence. You've got to understand, the pharmaceutical industry is one of the most competitive fields on the entire planet. We're talking about companies investing billions of dollars, racing against the clock, and against each other to find that next big breakthrough that could literally change millions of lives. And here's the twist. Sometimes the key to winning that race, it isn't just about what's under your own microscope. It's about knowing what's happening across the entire battlefield. It's about having the right information at exactly the right time. Now, every good secret agent has an objective, a mission. And in this story, the target isn't a person. It's a devastating and absolutely relentless disease. It's called Idiopathic Pulmonary Fibrosis, or IPF. And, the name itself is pretty telling. Idiopathic basically means the cause is a total mystery. It's a disease where the lungs just become progressively scarred, making it harder and harder to simply breathe. And for patients, the reality is just grim. Look at those words. It's a condition that only gets worse. It is, unfortunately, ultimately fatal. And the current therapeutic options, they're really limited. So the need for a breakthrough here isn't just urgent, it's truly a matter of life and death. Okay, so let's meet our protagonist in this story, a company that's developing a brand new therapy for IPF. They're pretty sure they have a promising new weapon in this fight, but the landscape, well, it's complex, it's crowded, and it is constantly changing. This was the central problem they were facing. How on earth do you make these critical, multi-billion-dollar decisions about your drug's development when you basically can't see what your competitors are doing, what doctors are thinking, or where the science itself is headed next? The choice was pretty stark. They could essentially drive blind, relying on guesswork and whatever incomplete data they could scrape together, or they could turn on the headlights by gathering real intelligence, getting a crystal clear view of the road ahead. So their mission objectives were specific. They absolutely had to know what their rivals were up to and how the design of clinical trials was changing. And this next one is crucial. They had to identify new scientific approaches, different mechanisms of action, which are just different ways of attacking the disease, that could completely disrupt the field. They needed to find the next big thing before someone else did. So, how do you get these answers? Yeah, it takes a lot more than a simple Google search. It requires a sophisticated playbook, a really coordinated strategy for gathering intelligence from every single possible corner of the industry. And their strategy was this comprehensive 5-point attack. It kicked off with reconnaissance, analyzing conference agendas before they even started. Then they put boots on the ground, attending all the key sessions to capture real-time insights. This was backed by what you might call human intelligence, interviewing top experts in the field. They also scoured all the open-source intel, like press releases, and finally, they used signals intelligence, tracking social media to get the pulse of the community. Every single angle was covered. So what did all this work actually uncover? What was the chatter on the ground? Well, the intelligence that started pouring in began to paint a very, very clear picture. Right away, the intelligence confirmed the biggest hurdles. The experts on the front lines, they weren't just focused on extending life. They were deeply, deeply concerned with the quality of life, with managing debilitating symptoms, and with the frustrating fact that current drugs just don't work well enough for enough people. And that is a critical insight for any new drug trying to enter this market. And this is absolutely fascinating. Through what's called sentiment analysis, they could pinpoint exactly how experts felt about their specific drug, and the feeling was hopeful but skeptical. The community could see the potential, but they needed to see more hard data. That kind of nuanced understanding is pure gold when you're trying to shape your future messaging. But maybe the most valuable piece of intel was about the future. The conversation out there was shifting away from a one-size-fits-all drug. The new frontier was personalized therapy, finding the right drug for the right patient. And this meant the key was in biomarkers, these unique biological signals that can predict how a patient will respond to a treatment. The team wasn't just collecting data anymore. They were watching the future of the entire field take shape in real time. Look, all this amazing intelligence is completely useless unless you actually do something with it. So what was the strategic payoff here? How did this whole mission turn intel into a real competitive advantage? The impact was incredibly direct and tangible. That detailed pipeline assessment, it helped guide their R&D focus. The insights from experts, they helped shape a much smarter marketing strategy. And that high-level summary, well, it gave senior leadership the clarity they needed to make confident, strategic decisions about the future.
And really, that's the bottom line. This wasn't just a report full of data. It was a roadmap. This intelligence operation successfully transformed a landscape of uncertainty and risk into a clear, decisive plan of action. They finally knew where to go next, and most importantly, they knew why.
And it leaves us with a pretty fascinating question to think about. We always think of medicine as the drugs themselves, right? The pills, the injections. But in a world this competitive, is it possible that the most powerful medicine of all is actually the right intelligence? The data that ensures the best drugs actually reach the patients who need them most?